In continuation to our last class, that is numerical analysis of finite journal bearing, we have done the programs or the logic for finding out the pressure distribution, and we discussed about various relaxation methods, Jacobi relaxation, Gauss-Seidel relaxation, how to make the solution process faster. Still here I would like to talk about another technique by which still you can make the solution process faster, even faster. So if you see our governing equation, the algebraic equation that we are solving for is actually Pij, that whatever equation here, this algebraic equation Pij is left side it Pij, right side is a function of Pi plus 1 or j plus 1 or I minus 1 or j minus 1 adjacent points. So what we'll do now, you are assigning directly to P. Now what we can do, we can write this as P I j equal to, the function was the function of P old value or whatever old value, or it may be function of current P value. Okay, that this is for Jacobi, this is for Gauss-Seidel. So let us name this P. Let us name this right side part, whatever you are getting in the right side. Let us name it as RHS. Okay. So this, now the RHS equal to function of this P old or function of P, depending on whether you are using Jacobi or Gauss-Seidel. Now this RHS, which earlier we used to treat as Pij, will not treat as Pij. What we will calculate? We will calculate one error equal to RHS minus Pij. Okay. Now this now then what is Pij? Pij equal to, okay, equal to this Pij plus ORF into E. Okay, this ORF is a variable, so into E. So first of all, you write these three lines in place of the single line here. You write these three lines, okay, in place of this single line Pij. So what essentially you are doing here, as I told you, this solution is a iterative process. So imagine in this figure, so this is your first iteration, this one is your first iteration, this is your second iteration, something like that. So value changes from here to here, this value changes from here to here is actually that error, or this is actually delta P change per iteration, okay, which is fixed here. This is the delta P change. Now if I can deliberately increase this change little further, then I can little further to this, then I can achieve solution faster. So that is what we are doing here. The ORF value can be taken as 1.2 to 1.5 to make the solution process faster. If you take ORF value to be 1, it is same as your previous solution, there is no increment. But if you take your ORF value more than 1, so there is obviously, if you take ORF value more than 1, there is obviously some deliberate increment you are giving. So therefore the solution process will become faster. So this is known as over relaxation. Okay. So now in some cases it may so happen that due to kind of geometry and speed and loading, you may not get solution at all because of instability in the solution process. So there you should not increase this delta P or error or ORF. So in that case, ORF, whatever this delta you are getting, in that case you should not increase at all, because when you are increasing it, you are adding more and more instability to the solution process. So highly unstable solutions, what you can do actually, this ORF even you can reduce it like 0.85, 0.8 to let's say to less than 1. Okay, so here actually you are reducing the value of this ORF. That means whatever this delta was there, so you are taking less than that. This much of value you are taking less than that. So deliberately you are reducing the increment in the next iteration. By that you are decreasing the instability. So if you use this ORF a less than 1, okay, then it is known as under relaxation. Okay, so over relaxation and under relaxation, depending on the situation we can use. Over relaxation will make the solution process much faster, and under relaxation will make the solution process yeah, to take little more time, because you need more number of iterations to reach to the final solution. But it is highly stable. This under relaxation is highly stable, definitely you will get solution. But over relaxation is sometimes unstable depending on the type of geometry or your operating speed and other conditions are concerned. Now this is all about solving the pressure. So basically after solving this program, what you are getting, P at all nodes. That means P matrix you are getting, full P matrix you will get. Now as we always do, next thing is to calculate the load carrying capacity. So in this case we are dealing with non-dimensional quantity, that is P bar. For program we are using P, but in reality it is actually P bar. So we have to calculate the load carrying capacity. If you are thinking that you can just integrate the pressure, that is wrong. That means if you are thinking W bar equal to integration, double integration of P d theta dz bar, P bar d theta dz bar. So do remember, this type of calculation is wrong. Okay, you have to start with the dimensional P or dimensional W. So first of all, what is your dimension W? W equal to integration 1 L minus L by 2 to plus L by 2 0 to 2 pi r P dx dz in Cartesian coordinate system. Okay, now you use the non-dimensional quantities here. So you know that for you can make it like this minus L by 2 to plus L by 2, you can make it like yeah, you can make it like 0 to L by 2 and then 0 to 2 pi r, something like that. But when you use non-dimensional quantities, then you can get rid of this L by 2 like we can use 0 to 1 and 0 to 2 pi. Here non-dimensionalization of P is P bar 6 eta u r divided by c square. If you want to substitute for P in terms of P bar, you can substitute this, and then x you can dx you can write r d theta, and dz you can write dz bar L by 2. Okay. So with this you move ahead, then what will get 6 eta u r square L divided by c square 0 to 1 0 to 2 pi p bar d theta dz bar. Okay, so this is your W, not non-dimensional W. This is your dimensional W. Okay, so if you want to make a non-dimensional W, then you have to check the dimensions. W bar equal to W c square by eta u r square L equal to 6 0 to 1 0 to pi 0 to 2 pi p bar d theta dz bar. Okay, so this is your non-dimensional W, load carrying capacity. So basically your W bar, this W bar is equal to this much. Okay, and how you relate dimensional to non-dimensional? By using this. If you want to calculate the dimensional W, then you have to multiply W bar, multiply this side W bar eta u r square L by c square will be W. So for that you need eta, you need u, you need L to calculate the actual load carrying capacity. But if you see the right side, already everything is known to us, that P bar we have calculated, non-dimensional pressure, theta is coordinate and Z bar is also coordinate system. So very well you can calculate W. Now regarding this 6, either you can keep this side or you can also take 6 here also. You can take 6 to this side. So it doesn't matter because 6 is non-dimensional quantity. So this way you calculate the non-dimensional load carrying capacity. Similarly, if you calculate the friction force, friction parameter, first we will start with your friction force F equal to, again this should be dimensional, minus L by 2 to L by 2 0 to 2 pi r tau x dx dz. Okay. Now here you can substitute this tau x, take 2 outside, so 0 to L by 2 0 to 2 pi r, substitute the value of tau x which is equal to h by 2 del p upon del theta plus eta by h into capital U. So this is into dx dz. Now substitute the values of non-dimensional quantities, so you will get 0 to 1 0 to 2 pi, okay, and then h bar c by 2 del p bar by r d theta 6 eta u r by c square, this is for p, then eta by h bar u by c. So this is d theta dz bar r L by 2. So now rearrange what will get? R L eta u by C 0 to 1 0 to 2 pi 3 h bar del p bar upon del theta plus 1 by h bar d theta dz bar. So here you can see that this is the dimensional f. If you want to find out non-dimensional f, then what you can do? Fc by eta u r l 0 to 1 0 to 2 pi. Okay. This is equal to 0 to 2 pi 3 h bar del p bar upon del theta plus 1 by h bar d theta dj bar. Okay, so this is the non-dimensional friction force. So that means the friction force is non-dimensional. The friction force is non-dimensional here, and if you want to find dimensional friction force, so this F, then F equal to F bar eta u r by L. Okay, F bar eta u r L by C, that is the dimensional, and right side this is non-dimensional friction force. Now you can see that everything is known to us. We already calculated P. If you know the calculation of P very well, you can calculate this del P upon del theta once again, and already H is known and these are coordinates. From that you can find out F bar. So this is the calculation of non-dimensional frictional force. Now if you want to calculate the coefficient of friction, okay, so do remember coefficient of, you have calculated F bar and W bar, but if you are thinking that mu equal to F bar by W bar, then it's again wrong. It is not F bar by W bar, mu equal to F by W. That is your definition of friction. So if that is so, then substitute the value of F. If you substitute the value of F, then F bar eta u r L by C. Okay, from here, from this expression. Now similarly, if you want to substitute W bar from the W expression, this W bar from the W expression, you can substitute that here. W bar eta u L r square L, okay, here L square. Now finally what will get? F bar by W bar C by R. So do one thing, you take left side this C by R and make it like R by C, so equal to F bar by W bar. So basically if you calculate the pressure and then you calculate the friction, all non-dimensional, then from these two non-dimensional values, if you divide F bar by W bar, it will become mu R by C. So therefore we do not call it as friction coefficient of friction, we call it as friction parameter, because R by C is included here. Okay, if you know the ratio R by C, you can very well find out the actual coefficient of friction. Okay, so next important parameter for us, because this is a finite bearing, so how much flow is coming out at the end of the bearing we need to know. So let us see end flow. how much flow is coming out at the end in z direction, length direction. So we already discussed that dqz in z direction equal to minus hq in dimensional by 12 eta del p upon del z, and this del p upon del z should be taken at the end. What is the pressure gradient at the end? That is z equal to L by 2. Okay. So then your total, this is at a section, then total qz equal to integration 0 to 2 pi r minus hq by 12 eta del p upon del z, z equal to L by 2, then dx. Okay, this we are integrating throughout the circumference. So then it will become, put non-dimensional quantities 0 to 2 pi minus h bar q cq 2 divided by 12 eta L, okay, del p bar by del z bar 6 eta u r by c square d theta. So from here what will find? C u r square by L 0 to 2 pi, okay, minus h bar q del p bar by del z bar at z bar equal to 1, that is at the end, d theta. In non-dimensional quantity z bar equal to 1 is the end. So this you will get as qz, dimensional flow at the end. If you want to get the non-dimensional quantity of it, q bar equal to qz L by u c r square equal to 0 to 2 pi minus h bar del p bar upon del z, z bar equal to 1 d theta. So this is what you will get the non-dimensional end flow. If you want to calculate the dimensional end flow, then it will be qz bar u c r square divided by L. And right side, if you see, this is completely non-dimensional, everything is known. From here you can calculate. The pressure is already calculated, so you calculate the pressure gradient at the end and then calculate, go for this integration. Okay, from here you can calculate the end flow. Okay, so now I hope that you can solve this numerical problem of finite bearing using FDM and using your software tool as MATLAB. So once you do it, you are successful in developing the program. What I suggest, you do one assignment on this. So this assignment will be like this. This assignment you have to submit in Moodle. Link will be open for you. So this assignment will have two cases. So first case 1, you have only two input, do remember, L by D and epsilon. So case 1, take L by D equal to 1, epsilon equal to 0.4. Take suitable nx and nz, that is the node numbers in x direction or theta direction and node numbers in z direction. and then with these two input, first show pressure plot. I told you to plot with mesh. Already I have shown how to plot that. Second point, vary epsilon like 0.2, 0.4, 0.6 and 0.8, 4 values, while keeping this L by D still 1, and then calculate W bar mu R by C and Q Z bar. Okay, these three you calculate. After calculating, plot, go for 2D plot, plot epsilon W bar, epsilon mu R by C and epsilon Q Z bar. Show these three plots variation. So altogether in this case 1 you are going to show 4 plots, one pressure plot in point 1 and 3 two-dimensional null plots in point 2. Now come to case 2. In case 2 you take epsilon to be 0.4, then vary L by D equal to 0.5, 1, 1.5 and 2, 4 values. Then similarly calculate W bar mu R by C and QZ bar. After calculating this, you again do the 2D plot, L by D, W bar, then L by D, mu R by C, then epsilon, sorry, L by D, not epsilon, okay. So L by D, QJ. So again these three plots you will get 2D plots that you show. So your whole program code as well as all these plots you put in a Word file and submit in Moodle. So you will get enough time. So I suggest in this Sunday I am asking you to submit the 1D program by Sunday. So then by let's say next Sunday you submit this program. So I'll set the time in Moodle. So check in Moodle what is your deadline. So I'm not extending further because this is very important now for this numerical analysis. If you can able to solve this in finite difference technique, you should be able to solve any differential equation using finite difference technique, whether it is for lubrication or any other problem. So with this programming, you will have good knowledge of finite difference method. So that is all for today. You do the program and you can discuss with me. If you have any problem in this program, you can discuss with me in subsequent classes. Okay, so that is all for now. Thank you.